Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L here to talk about My Hero Academia chapter 403 and also 404 because I'm not too sure if I'm going to have a lot of time this coming week to also do the manga chapter review. And I really feel like after looking at 404, it's better just to talk about both 403 and 404. Now, mind you, 404 is the fan scan, so there might be some spots there that the wording isn't the best, but the idea is simple enough. So we'll go into 404 because it's not officially released. I can't show you the images safely. So because of that, I will just be really zooming in on the text, and we'll be talking about the text, and it won't be like the most fleshed out thing in the world, but 404 only has a few really interesting ideas that we have to go through. Very exciting overall. Definitely made 403 much better for me. Anyway, we're going to get into this. Let's begin with 403. And 403 has a very special place in my heart because if I had done 403 by itself, this would have been a very short video because there are 6 pages of nothing happening. And when I say that, I really mean it's 6 pages of Bakugo posing. And when I say that, I really mean like there's just not really any text to say other than Bakugo's on his feet, right? Now, this was very exciting for people. This is a very exciting thing. Me personally, being the kind of guy that prefers seeing text on the page, I wasn't the happiest when this was coming out and we were looking at it on spoilers. But that's only because like the week-to-week experience, I was only sad in the sense that okay, it's a week of like only a few things happening. And commenter Sarge made this comment about 404 yesterday that it could all be summed up by Bakugo going fast. And it's like, yeah, it could. Very good point, Sarge. But that's why 403 and 404 flow better together. And again, if you're reading this in a volume, I'm sure it's going to be amazing. And like to quote another commenter, Jason Thomas, who likes to mention spectacle, this is a chapter about spectacle. For all the people that love Bakugo, like surely they're happy. The people that live week to week, they are surely happy. I'm sure all the kids on the playground got super excited when they saw that. Maybe excited enough that it undid some of the damage that Juju Kai did. But yeah. That's my overall thoughts there with 403. This would have been a very short video if we were looking at 403 by itself. But 404 has a few more things that are really interesting. And of course, it's great to have this guy back. Of course, 404 is where the more interesting stuff is when talking about Bakugo. So let's begin properly with chapter 403, which is pretty much just the everyone praying for All Might chapter. We'll begin with page 2 and 3, where this starts officially. The big thing I want to say here is that All Might is really cute. I think his mom has a pretty cool design. And we have the start of this imagery. You know what? This imagery, I think, carries on. We see the clouds over here. I feel like it carries on from like, the hand we saw and the wind and the leaves. If you look at 404, you'll see that 404 confirms this is like the continuation of that imagery. Anyway, just again, special shout out to like All Might's mom. She looks pretty cool. Okay, so one of the jokes I had looking at this chapter, we have the end of an era. There's a lot of things going on in this chapter that just tell you like, okay, the heroes are gonna win. But looking at this thing here, right? I look at the lights and I'm just thinking, because of the way that it looks later, it looks like, oh, those are all trading cards. This is all just All Might trading cards on the ground. I don't think there's anything really significant here other than just adding to the gravity of the situation. Some people made a note that this could be the one for all lights, or it lines up with them being the one for all lights or something like that. I don't really think it's all that important. It's just this idea, like it's just like this is a fluff page, just building up the imagery that gets answered later, right? We go into page 4 and 5. Oh, sorry, page 5, which is where we see what happened. Now, last time when we ended off, it looked like there was about to be an explosion. You know me, you know my motto. Don't believe Horikoshi. Why would you believe Hero Academia at this juncture? There's no point. There's no point in believing Hero Academia. Don't do it. Because Horikoshi lies. He likes to drum up the situation. So here, last time I thought, okay, maybe this guy gets blown up. He loses an arm. Maybe Bakugo comes in to save him. Or maybe All for One is somehow able to like negate the explosion. And as it turns out here, we go into an explosion negation. Now, me personally, I think this is a very dangerous move, like breaking a device, an electrical device that's about to blow up. That could have ended really badly for him. I don't know what exactly causes that device to like stop functioning, but he got very lucky on that one. Regardless, All for One stops the explosion. One thing that's really interesting here is that one of the things that I've always thought about the All Might death is that All Might was not going to be killed. He was going to sacrifice himself, because that changes the death in such a way where it makes it feel like it's more All Might's choice and it's not a fulfillment of the prophecy. So I love that, Horikoshi looks at this situation and he sees the distinction between sacrifice and being murdered, right? This is going to be very important when we start talking about 404. But when you're looking at Horikoshi, it's important for you, the reader, to recognize there's a distinction here. There's a distinction, and this one thing, this page of how All for One acknowledged that distinction should tell you that Horikoshi 100% is the kind of guy that would pull a situation where All Might sacrifices himself, and he uses that as a spin of him negating the prophecy because he died a hero and not a victim. We gotta be ready for that, because there's some trickery going on in 404, or potential trickery. Really, it could go either way. Now, one thing that I find rather curious on this one is just All for One was kind of ready for All Might to do this. Actually, let me go to the next page. So we go here, and you have him pointing out a cornered hero is terrifying. Indeed, a lesson courtesy of you. Now, I guess, you know what, the fan translations made that part sound different. It made it sound more like All for One was ready for this, as opposed to the official translation making it seem like All for One is being reminded of this fact that he knows already. So, okay, you know what, let me take away that point, because actually the fan translation just seems to be different from the official. Anyway, we go into this page, and we just have All for One pretty much gloating. I do like that All for One carries this, the gimmick of him being so emotional that he's ripping apart his body. I love it. I think this is a really good look for him. Definitely improved. I also love how just lost All Might looks like, and this is after he's been affected by Blood Curdle. Also, very good to know he actually stole Blood Curdle. I was really doubting that with All for One, given who he is. But guess he got it. That's actually something really competent. Good on him. Now, page 7 is one of my favorite pages. Maybe my most favorite page in the whole All Might versus All for One battle. That's a lie. All Might putting a cannon in All for One's mouth continues to be one of the most metal things I've seen. But still, top two. I love that All for One refers to Gentle by his name, Tobita. I love that. I love that Gentle is recognized. So we have this whole thing where Gentle's about to go. All for One shoots Yue, says Yue distracted him and threw off his aim. Good to know he can still be distracted by minor things. And then we have him specifically making reference to Tobita, saying that he heard what Tobita was probably going to do, probably heard that he was going to go help him, and decide to keep Gentle locked in place. Bro, Gentle right now was a person that All for One had to keep in check. I love that. There's no real danger to Gentle, but there is a good potential of Gentle stopping All for One. There's a good potential of Gentle stopping All for One from actually killing All Might. I don't need him to beat him. I just need him to be a minor nuisance, and I love that. I love that Gentle is actually a nuisance enough that you have to keep him in check. No, that was great. That felt really good. I love that for Gentle. Okay, on page 8 and 9. We have the whole thing where the Jets go in to stop him. Bro, I don't care about the Americans, alright? I'm sorry. I feel like they should have fired their lasers from far away instead of getting close enough where All for One could whip them. I think they should have just stuck to distance. But then again, if you stick to distance, All Might becomes the margin of error becomes bigger, so All Might would have been getting hit. So maybe this would have been the better way of doing it. Poor guys. It's okay. A few of them probably survived. Now, we did have a really cool moment on the spoilers where they started overemphasizing how many people were praying for All Might to live. And when I saw that happening, in my mind, I'm just thinking this is Horikoshi's roller coaster. He's making it look really, really bad, and he's artificially making it worse to really improve that return of Bakugo there. So it was just a really awesome moment on the spoilers to see the roller coaster effect in real time and know that because of the roller coaster that is Hero Academia, we were about to swoop upward. And the prayers all just the way that Horikoshi constructed the whole thing with the prayers, it's actually pretty ingenious with 404 coming in, because last week, you could go back and look at the stream from last week when you had all this emphasis on these people praying. I remembered the whole situation with Night Eye. And when it comes to Night Eye and him talking about wishing energy, like it was setting up. It was setting up when you come into 404, man. Like, oh wow. But yeah, no, that was a pretty good construction. You knew what was going to happen with Horikoshi's style. Everyone's praying. Now, it would have been really metal if Horikoshi just went through with it and killed All Might, even with everyone praying, because then that's like a really dark turn. Like, everything in Hero Academia, just that would have been a really dark turn. But good stuff there. We have All for One about to try to pull a well, actually, this isn't really a Mufasa if he's actually trying just to like rip All Might apart. A Mufasa would have been like throwing All Might down into the floor and letting, you know, gravity do the work for him. But this is a full-on kind of, yeah, no, this is like way more gritty superhero kind of shit, you know. This is like an Omni-Man level kind of kill. Anyway, still very dark imagery. So the kids that were watching this probably got freaked out. Anyway, you have all the prayers happening. And then, of course, you have Bakugo coming back in. People find out Bakugo shows up in the dust. He looks half dead, but he's ready to go. And we go into these whole little images of the future. And we see this one here. So, like, this is where we begin pretty much. This is where we begin, like, the whole Texas thing. That there's... What do you want me to say about this? It's just All Might seeing the future. This is how he views the new era. I will say I did love this final page. For a lot of things, you know, we have the end of the era being, or the end of an era being the chapter title, and then we have the beginning. And when you see this, like, okay, the beginning of a new era, you see like the imagery of Izuku and Bakugo as kids, inspired by All Might. They're gonna carry the torch. They're the new era kind of thing. With that, you pretty much know, like, okay, this is the beginning. This ain't the beginning of the Demon Lord's era. This is too hopeful. This is the beginning of Bakugo and Izuku about to like whoop All for One's ass, right? That's what's about to happen. Like, Bakugo's gonna go there and call him Ballface for all we know, man. This is about to go down. That's the new era, the era of Bakugo like unleashing hell on All for One and making him fear him. One thing I did love here is that it's interesting the emphasis on the water. Like, Bakugo is emphasized by sweat. Like, all that sweat is what emphasizes Bakugo, and all those tears is what emphasizes Izuku. That's some high fidelity tears, man. But yeah. You know, when you see like the beginning, the end of an era in the beginning, it's like, okay, you know you're gonna win. You know all the heroes are gonna win. At the end of the day, this is a story about heroes or good people with their backs against the wall and doing their best to like get the victory. At the end of the day, we're gonna win. You know, in some ways, the chapter just kind of takes away any kind of disbelief that we're gonna get any kind of bad ending. It's gonna be an overly good ending with maybe a few losses along the way, but probably still an overly good ending. The reason I say a few losses on the way is because of 404. Now, mind you, 404 is like super happy. This is okay because this is a flashback image. I could realistically be showing you an old panel. So when we come into 404, a lot of things are happening in the chapter on a technical level. Like, the author is bringing together a lot of ideas. He's bringing back the idea brought up by the the weather report girl. Like, we knew we would see her again, and he's also bringing back everything that Night Eye said. Right, so he's like, he front loads everyone with the future Night Eye saw, an unspeakably gruesome death. Okay, we knew that was coming. You have then on that same page of page 1 of 404. Also, sorry, we're on 404. If you don't want to see the spoilers for this, like, kind of late because I was talking about 404 the entire time. But if you need like the warning to just get out of here, we're not going to talk about 403 anymore. But believe me, 404 is great. Anyway. We have that. We have the whole thing about the butterfly effect. We have the whole thing about the wind blows. So this like carries on from that image of the old man holding the leaf. It carries on from the weather report girl. It carries on from Night Eye's theory about how Izuku was able to change everything. We go in that first page and we see All Might still getting ripped apart. So that's like the author is front loading you into thinking the unbelievably gruesome death is All Might being ripped in half. All right, fair enough. Okay, that is so unbelievably blurry that no one can actually tell. I'm not going to get in trouble for that. Okay, so one thing that starts happening in the chapter for 404 is that you see, if you look very closely at some of the panels, there's like little special effect around people's breath or around people's hands, which, as you know, in 404, it's all about the idea of the energy that comes from wishing. All this energy is just coming out there. Now, when we were looking at the spoilers, there was a question as to, you know, is Bakugo right now standing up because of this wishing energy? And you know, at the time it was like, I'm not too sure, honestly, but with the imagery that comes with this chapter, man, it's not even like I don't think there's any point even trying to argue it. the author wants you to think that the wishing energy right now is supporting Bakugo. Is that why Bakugo's able to stand up right now? Is that why he's able to like go and be the person? Like, is he an agent of wishing energy right now? Very interesting stuff. I think, yeah, no, like, only way to really see this is that Bakugo right now is being propelled by the power of the world's wishes. And you know, if this is actually legal, if this is actually correct, Night Eye kind of set it up that the wishing energy was a thing. It already has the power to change the future in a very permanent way. Here we are. Anyway, the important thing for page 2 and 3, I think, of 404 is to see that every little thing, even a person's breath, was pretty much creating the wishing energy. And what the author is trying to do is by saying like, oh yeah, the flap of a butterfly's wing is so insignificant, yet it causes a storm somewhere else. Yes, completely disproven idea. But like conceptually, you can see what they're trying to say. Okay, the next couple of pages are just pretty much explaining how Bakugo's about to save All Might in the most incredible way. We have Izuku going in and using Gear Shift on Bakugo after winding him up. So Bakugo gets to go there. The All Might vestige is fading away. He shoots Bakugo off. Again, these are textless pages, so there is nothing to talk about here other than Buddy Guy looking good. Now, one of the most interesting segments was this line right here where Shigaraki was saying the All Might inside of you just used to be a formless silhouette. They don't appear like their true form while they're alive, right? And it's like, I thought that this was being said by someone else. The fact that it's being said by Shigaraki is so strange. Because he's seen what the silhouettes look like. So he could probably build this thing, but it's also just... I've always thought this. If you follow this channel, you know that I believe All Might was going to form inside of Izuku after the real All Might died. There's a lot of weird things happening here with this whole vestige situation because All Might forms before the actual All Might is dead, and Shigaraki's able to like narrate it. The fact that Shigaraki's narrating it to me is the author saying that, guys, get on the same page. This is something that is possible here. They do not form inside of Izuku unless the original is dead. Now, the thing that makes it weird with Shigaraki is that All For One appeared fully as All For One without the vestige effects, even though the original is still alive. That is very odd. It's like in that position, it's like Shigaraki shouldn't be able to come up, or like there should be more caveats in this argument or this observation about what's going on with the vestiges. Mind you, Shigaraki might also be seeing the vestiges in real time right now. I don't know. There's like the way that the effects of the panel are, like he might be seeing them in real time right now. Anyway, to talk about All Might appearing like his real self, you know, when the vestige said it was departing, I'm pretty sure in that video I said I don't believe this. So I'm happy that we're here. I'm happy that I'm getting some credence to the thought that, yeah, no, this guy's gonna fully form when All Might is dead and all that. I do think that this vestige really got ahead of itself, fully forming when All Might is still alive. He kind of gave up the fight ahead of time. Like, bro, never give up. Because now you look stupid, vestige. You had to, like, you went from being formed to back to flames. Like, what happened there? Now, I do think that it's possible the vestige didn't have any control of it. This is going to be a kind of far out idea, but given that the Hero Academia universe is predetermined to some degree, it's like predetermined in the way that, if you watch Steins Gate, this makes a lot more sense. Predetermined in the way that Steins Gate is predetermined when you have the world lines. It's possible that because this death was predetermined, the All Might vestige just formed ahead of time because it's like, well, All Might's going to die. That's what destiny ultimately says. In Vestige World, there might not be a concept of time. So, you know, it might throw things off that way. But really, I think the narrative was probably most impacted, or like what's happening in the story was most impacted by just dramatic weight, pretty much. The drama of the situation was changing everything. Anyway, we have that situation. Shigaraki's feeling really good about himself, but the wind blows, Izuku feels it, and we go into like the big explanation about that wishing energy, or the reiteration of the wishing energy. Man, look at that leaf. You don't know from what manga that could be from. So this is where, like, I think this is page 9 on the fan scans, but we have a thing where Horikoshi goes and pretty much tells the reader, hey, all those little moments at the beginning of the chapter, go back and look at it. Someone's clenched fist, someone's breathing. What else? Within thoughts, there is a sort of energy, I believe, that now energy from striving for a certain future, energy from wishing. And this is like when Night Eye was dying, when he was telling us all those things. So really interesting. This is a really classic Horikoshi's technique where he does something at the beginning of the chapter and then he gives more context at the end of the chapter so that you can go back to the beginning and see like how it built into it. But like honestly, this whole thing with people like wishing for All Might, he had this plan for a very long time. And honestly, again, on a technical level, it's really well constructed. There's already a precedence for this. It's just now it's become very, very obvious. Page 10 on the fan scans is really what makes it more obvious that Bakugo is the agent of wishing energy. Bakugo goes in there, and you can see that he's juxtaposed against everyone wishing. That's probably the only thing keeping him alive right now. Or not keeping him alive, but letting him move the way he's moving right now. There's just no way about this. White Despair brought up a really interesting way of looking at this. Is like, if the wishing energy is active right now, what is the wishing energy affecting? Is it affecting All For One and stopping him from killing All Might fast enough? Very practical. Is it allowing Izuku to use Gear Shift one more time safely? Or is it powering Bakugo? You know, again, when you look at the chapter and the imagery and not the text, it's like, yeah, it looks like Bakugo's the agent of the people's will right now. Now, overall, it's a very simple chapter. It's a chapter about how everyone wishing for All Might to survive changed the future that Night Eye saw. But this is one of those situations where like the author is being way too obvious about it. Or not obvious, he's being very heavy-handed about it. So I'll go on to this thought that Night Eye wanted to keep All Might from getting killed. So the way I'm looking at it now is that me personally, I would love if All Might lives. Because like the world sucks, man. I want good people to keep on living, man. Like that's what I want. But from my perspective, like I'm seeing this thing, there's an over focus on All For One. Like the narration makes you feel that All For One is the thing that Night Eye saw, and that is a very gruesome death here. But you know, the big thing with Night Eye's foresight is that Night Eye actually changed the future a lot. Like the future that he saw, he 100% changed it a lot. The thing is that the future of Hero Academia self-corrects. So if really you have to go and use like the John Triter or like the Steins Gate interpretation of time travel and all that kind of stuff, where you have world lines. If you know Steins Gate, the question here is, has this wishing for a certain outcome shifted the world line enough that you went from world line B to world line A, where you get an actually completely different, you know, series of events that will unfold in the future? Or are you still in the same world line and you just went on a slight detour? The reason I bring it up is just because like right now, the author, he could be positioning readers into thinking that All Might is going to be safe and then kill All Might. And the thing here is that you have to look at it from Horikoshi's perspective in terms of getting the spectacle out. Horikoshi from a very long time said All Might's going to die. Like the readers come into this believing All Might's going to die, or at least being reminded that All Might's going to die. Thinking that he's in a position where there's no surprise in All Might dying. If he goes through the entire motions of making it look like All Might was saved and then killing him off anyway, that would be pretty powerful. That would be the way that you kind of deal with the situation if you want to surprise people. And then it's like, you know, you get a little bit of carnage for this final arc to make it feel like it has some weight by taking All Might off the table and then allowing him to fully form inside Izuku and all that kind of stuff. We're going to have to see what's going to happen here. But I do think, again, and this has been my bet since the beginning, if we actually go into All Might dying, it's going to be by his choice. He's not going to be murdered brutally. He's going to sacrifice himself to give someone else an incredible opportunity. Heck, man, we might go into a situation where with Bakugo here, it gets even dirtier because Bakugo feels like he's responsible for All Might's demise here. We might go into a very dirty situation where like All Might even tells Bakugo, it's not your fault. I chose to be a suicidal maniac, right? And Bakugo knows this is who All Might is. If Horikoshi does a juxtaposition of Bakugo talking about All Might's worst qualities, as All Might is doing this as well, that'll be extremely powerful because this is just All Might being All Might. So we're gonna have to see what happens here. Overall, though, it's cool. It's a really cool little situation. We are now in the wishing era. The question now is All Might going to ruin the wishes of everyone to get the final victory at the end? We're gonna have to see. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. That was chapter 403 and 404. Till next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.